So I assume this is a musical. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Rare Americans Skids, the full-length movie. So we've reacted to Rare American stuff on the channel quite a few times before. And now we're getting to what appears to be a full-length feature film by them. Which is interesting because this is a band. Rare Americans is a band who uses their music to, promote messages, to promote themes and ideas that you could say challenge modern society and its standards. And that's great as it is. They have these like original animated music videos and stuff, but now apparently they did a full-length film, and that is interesting to me because obviously it's going to share the same kind of messaging that their normal content has, but I assume that it's going to be like in musical style where it's like they have a bunch of songs that go into it. I don't know like exactly what that's going to entail. I don't know if there's going to be like a thorough line of a full regular story, or if it's going to be like a bunch of stories put together. I don't know, but I'm very curious. This is a donation reward for Venom, as usual. He's donated for all of the Rare American stuff. And yeah, I just don't really know what to expect with this. It's just one of those things where it could be really good. Excuse me. Or it could be just a bit much. Not in terms of messaging, in terms more of just this much of their content at once. Because sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes you watch certain creators' content, it's like, this is better in small bursts. Watching like too much of this in one go, it becomes a bit much. Whether it's because of the creator's personality, or whether it's because of the content itself, or yada yada. And this is one of those cases where I feel like this could go either way. Now, I will say right off the bat, I do have a headache right now. So maybe not the best time to be getting to something with music. But I also have water, and I'm hoping that like helps to some degree. See? Because it's like, I want to continue going, and I think reacting to anything at this point is going to like not be necessarily great for a headache. I don't want to put anything off though. We're in kind of the final stretch of the year, so but yeah, I'm very curious as to like how this is gonna go. So I think we should just get into this and hope for the best. So let's check it out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this is one of those movies that kind of like any Rare American song and music video has a lot to say. It's obviously tackling this through this like punk rock opera type of thing, and it deals with a lot of heavy things that are, very difficult to talk about, things that are very hard to like put into words a lot of the time, and expressing this through music, through the visuals that we've come to know for Rare Americans, is actually, I think, the best way to tell this kind of story. Like, I'm a big proponent of animation being like a worthwhile medium and being something to take seriously. Animation can tell a lot of amazing stories that, let's be honest, live action just can't capture in the same way. Not that it would be bad in live action. Something like this absolutely could work in that medium too. But the way it's told through certain visuals, like the principal and other characters like transforming into like these demon like visages at times, is something that can only really be executed properly in animation. It's something that like would be difficult, if impossible, to properly pull off in live action. And it's stuff like that that really sells a lot of the feelings of the film and of the characters within it. A lot of that comes through with these visual metaphors. Even like the things like the flowers coming through on Molly's chest and everything. Just these visual things, like being very representative of their emotions, their feelings, their struggles. And I think that's why this needed to be told in this manner. The music is also a great way to express this kind of topic. Like, obviously, I've seen movies and stuff that have, like, talked about, like, drug problems, suicide attempts, and just, abusive and terrible home lives and stuff. All these kind of topics I've seen in films. But telling it through the medium of animation, through this kind of, like, almost sketchy style and everything that Rare Americans is known for, I think was the right move. Because it makes it feel more punk rock. It makes it feel more, like, messy. And I obviously, I mean that in a really positive way. Because the subject matter of this movie is very messy. It is very upsetting. It is very frightening. It is sad. And it is messy. It is about these kids, these high schoolers, who are in very bad places due to various things. One of them lives with an abusive cop father. Another lives with his single mother who, is not doing well after the death of her husband and everything. And then you have the third one who has a lot of regrets and pains in his life in regards to, like, mistakes he's made in the past. But you also have Corey, who is a closeted gay kid who, like, only came out to one person ever before and ruined a friendship in his eyes. And in Billy's eyes, too. You have a drug-dealing bully who, like, isn't all that strong himself, but utilizes his power and control to make people listen to him. And it seems like he even has a bad home life too. From that little glimpse we got, it looked like his father was like very, what's the word? His father like barely seemed to acknowledge his existence. He was not there for him, and I feel like that thirst for control and power probably branched from that. You also have Molly, who's a model student, but has a shit ton of pain because of her single father having given up on life after his wife's death, and how she's been like depressed because of it, turned to drugs for any sense of happiness or taking back control of her life. It's like every single one of these kids has shit going on. And that's kind of the point. It's like you look at all these kids in school, and it's like they all have their own lives going on. They all have their own pains, their own problems. And in real life, like, every situation may not be like this, like, dark for everyone, but it gets to the point where it's like you just never know what someone is going through. You just never know the kind of pains and miseries and coping mechanisms that people turn to. And so it's one of those occasions where it really makes you take a step back and reflect on yourself, on others, on how you've treated others. And obviously, it also touches on various other themes like punk rock and the idea of, finding family in rebellion against the systems that are unjustly against us. You have religious corruption as another theme in this, and even a little bit of police corruption, because it said that, like, I mean, the principal had gotten away with this shit, all this sexual misconduct for years and years and years. He just picked up, moved, and found a new place. And it's that entire kind of situation. And so you have, like, all of these different fucked up situations kind of coming together in different ways. Connections that you didn't know about right off the bat, and just various things that, like, you really start to understand as the movie unravels. And there's some things that, like, are very, like, upsetting and frightening. Moments in this that, like, make you really worried, because, like, you start to grow attached to these characters. You start to feel like their pains and worries and concerns. And so when something happens, it freaks you out a little bit. It does well at getting you attached to the characters. And on top of that, I feel like this movie really just understands, like, pain and rage and just emotional turmoil in general. And you get to see, like, how different people will cope with that, and how different it can manifest between people as well. And in the end, it kind of turns out as well as can be hoped for everyone. It sucks that Craig does, like, go to prison, but I mean, like, he did burn down, part of a school. So, I guess technically fair. And we did see that the principal was, actually apprehended in the end, I guess is the best way to put it. So there's that. That's a positive. And Corey even woke up after his suicide attempt. And it's just, it has a hopeful ending. I guess that's a better way to put it than a happy ending. Because it's like Corey found some happiness and acceptance in the end. You have Scotty being accepted into Rolling Stone magazine. Billy has, found a better outlook on life and is going with Scotty. Molly is dedicating herself to like the next stage of her life and trying to like better herself. It's like everybody's like moving forward. And that's probably the best you can hope to do, given these circumstances. Just move forward and try to make the best of your life. And there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be pitfalls. There's going to be problems. But you just got to keep trying. You got to keep pushing. And, like, what's more punk rock than that? Than, like, putting forth the effort to better the lives of yourself and those around you. That's what punk is all about. It's all about speaking out and making a change. It's all about like calling out injustices in the system. And so by trying to better yourself and by trying to better others, and just again, I stated in the reaction itself, but like the idea of like no one gets left behind, the idea of like just we're always there for each other is very punk rock. And so I really feel like it just really made a great statement on these kind of troubles that people go through and how to deal with it, or at least some ways of dealing with it, because no way is going to be a perfect fit for everyone. You got to find your own way. And the characters, the stuff they're fighting back against, the corruptions, the pains, the abuses, are absolutely things worth taking a stand against. So it feels like it just, like it understood the assignment, honestly. And I'm very just happy with how this turned out. It was a great film with wonderful visuals, fantastic music, and just overall really enjoyable story. It tackled a lot of depths, a lot of pains, a lot of traumas, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to tackle, a lot of people need to see. Trying to avoid this kind of stuff like just makes you blind to it. And you need to be able to see the kind of pains that people like this go through. And you need to be able to understand that they're possibly going through some horrible like traumas and situations. It's like I never like grew up in a situation where things were like this bad in terms of abuse and whatnot. It's like there were issues in my life, there were problems that I had to go through, but it luckily never reached the point of things we see here. I never experimented with drugs personally, outside of like trying a cigarette like once or twice, which I didn't even like anyway. But it's like that was never really my thing. the way that I tended to deal with a lot of like the pains and traumas and issues in my life was not a healthy way, admittedly. I would tend to push it aside and basically bury myself in like video games or watching stuff or reading in some cases. I wouldn't actually address it. I just kind of ignore it and hope it goes away, which isn't healthy. It's not a good idea. Don't do as I did. Thankfully, growing up and as I've become an adult and, even grown after that, become a better person after the fact, I've found better ways of dealing with things. Like, I tend to like open up to people more if I feel like I'm having troubles, and will talk to people, and that's a lot healthier of a way of dealing with it. I actually express my emotions properly, or at least more properly now. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of issues that I still feel like I go through in the modern day. And a lot of the time, it's hard. A lot of the time, it's very difficult to get through. And so I keep like opened up about it. Because I feel like if I don't, I'll slip back into just ignoring it and pushing it away until it festers in my mind forever. Um, and there's a lot of injustices that I tend to speak out against in real life on social media and whatnot. Um, Religious bullshit tends to be a big one for me because I'm Christian. I am a Christian. I've never been Catholic though, but I tend to speak out against a lot of like Christian hypocrisy and bullshit and like fear mongering and shit because I hate that stuff with a passion. I feel like it's extremely manipulative and just makes you look like a horrible, evil piece of shit. And so I really like that this movie touches on that kind of stuff and shows how bad it can be and how hypocritical it all can be. And I definitely have turned to music as a way to like deal with my problems as well. Usually my kind of music of choice is like classic rock or just, standard rock stuff like that. Sometimes there's some alternative thrown in and whatnot. I've never been huge into punk rock music. Just I guess really depends on the song and artist and everything. But like my go-tos would be like Queen or the Beatles, or in terms of other stuff I grew up with, the likes of Lacuna Coil, or Alter Bridge, or Fallout Boy, or Evanescence was a big one. Linkin Park, a lot of emo music, a lot of pop punk, which isn't quite the same as punk rock, but but yeah, I definitely would like turn to a lot of music. Um, I was never big into like the entire party scene like we see in this film. I've talked about this with other films and stuff before. That was just never my thing. Like even now as an adult, it's like I'll go to like board game parties, but it's like the kind of parties you often see in like movies and whatnot. It's like I never really did that. It's just like one, I don't think I ever had the opportunity to do it, and two, I just I just never like found myself in a situation where I could, because it's like for one reason or another it just was I never even like saw these parties or heard of these parties in real life. Um, but yeah, this movie, like, I know I'm not expressing it super well. I apologize for that, but this movie did really hit me, and it did really like speak to me on a lot of levels. Obviously, I mentioned in the reaction like my history with suicide attempts and stuff, and so it's like that, and plus the fact of Corey being closeted, which I was back when I attempted suicide. I didn't fully like 100% realize it, but you know how things are just like very obvious in retrospect. It's one of those situations. um, but yeah, it's just a lot of pain came from that without me even realizing. And so it's like there's, yeah, a lot of connection there I could draw. And on top of that, excuse me, I just like connect with the idea of feeling like a loner and feeling lost. Even if not in the same ways expressed in this film, just the general sense of it. Feeling like I don't fit in was always one of the biggest things with me, and why most of the time, like whether in school or out, I would just like be on my own, spend time like alone. I would do things like at school, I would literally find a corner alone to sit by myself in the lunchroom. I didn't sit with anyone. And like I barely talked with any of my classmates and stuff. It's like I mean, I wasn't outgoing, but it was more than that. It was also like a feeling of inadequacy compared to others, partially due to my size, partially due to being a nerd, and so on and so forth. Things that, aren't really as pushed back against nowadays. Being a nerd is a lot more socially accepted in the modern day, and as is just, body positivity and people being more accepting of that. um, yeah, it's a really, really good film, and I really enjoyed it. I love the music. Like I said, it just on all levels it worked. I don't know. I wouldn't call it like perfect or anything like that, but it's up there for me. I would say it's up there. But I would love to hear what your thoughts on this are. Let me know down in the comments below. What did you think of Skids? And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.